In the quiet mountains of ancient Tibet, a revered Buddhist master lay on his deathbed. His devoted disciple knelt beside him, waiting for the final words of wisdom that would guide him for the rest of his life. The room was filled with the soft glow of butter lamps, their flames dancing like prayers in the thin mountain air. The master's breathing was shallow, his voice barely a whisper. After decades of profound teachings about compassion, mindfulness, and liberation, what would be his final gift to the world? The disciple leaned closer, expecting a teaching on the nature of emptiness, or words about the path to enlightenment. Instead, the master's last instruction was utterly perplexing. My dear student, never allow a cat into your life. And with those words, the great teacher passed away, leaving behind a mystery that would haunt his successor for months to come. What could this mean? Why would a master who taught universal compassion warn against something as innocent as a cat? The answer, my friends, holds one of the most powerful secrets about controlling your mind before it destroys everything you've worked for. If you're ready to discover this ancient wisdom that can transform your relationship with desire and distraction, then keep watching. And if this resonates with you, please subscribe to Buddha Coha for more life-changing Buddhist teachings. Part 1: How Small Beginnings Lead to Life's Destruction. Months passed, and the young monk couldn't shake his master's cryptic warning. Every day, as he swept the monastery floors and tended to his meditation practice, those words echoed in his mind: never allow a cat into your life. Finally, unable to bear the mystery any longer, he approached the monastery's eldest monk, a weathered man whose eyes held the depth of decades of practice. "Elder brother," the young monk said, bowing respectfully, "I must understand our master's final words. Why would he warn against a cat? He who taught us to show loving kindness to all beings." The elder monk's eyes crinkled with a knowing sadness. He gestured for the young disciple to sit beside him on the wooden bench overlooking the valley below. "Ah, my young friend, you think this was about cats, don't you? Let me tell you a story about our beloved master, a story from before he found true wisdom. The master's hidden past, a tale of gradual descent. Many years ago, when our master was just a young monk like yourself, he lived in a small hermitage deep in the forest. He was dedicated, disciplined, spending his days in meditation and study. His mind was clear, his purpose unwavering. But there was one problem that disturbed his peace: rats. They would scurry through his simple dwelling, eating his meager food supplies, disturbing his meditation with their constant scratching and squeaking. Night after night, he would lie awake, his concentration broken by these tiny intruders. One day, a traveling merchant passed by his hermitage. "Holy monk," the merchant said, "I see you're troubled by rats. I have here a beautiful cat, trained in the art of hunting. Surely one small compromise wouldn't hurt your practice." The young master hesitated. It was such a small thing. Just one cat. How could it possibly interfere with his spiritual path? After all, even the monastery cats served a purpose, didn't they? Just this once, he thought. What harm could come from this? Part 2: The Chain Reaction: How One Small Choice Changes Everything. So the master accepted the cat. And oh, what a hunter it was! Within days, the rat problem was solved. The master's meditation returned to its peaceful state. He congratulated himself on his practical wisdom. But then, the cat needed milk. Just a small cup each day, the master reasoned. Surely this won't disturb my practice. So he acquired a cow. But a cow needed care, needed milking twice daily, needed feeding. The master found his meditation schedule constantly interrupted. His mind, once focused solely on the Dharma, now worried about the cow's health, about finding enough grass, about the changing seasons. I need help, he thought. Just someone to help with the cow. Then I can return to my practice. He hired a local widow to tend the cow. She was kind, gentle, and slowly, conversations about cow care turned into discussions about life, about loneliness, about the beauty of the changing seasons. The master found himself looking forward to these conversations more than his evening meditation. Months passed. The master's robes seemed less important than the woman's smile. His meditation cushion gathered dust as he spent hours talking with her. Before he knew it, they were married. Children followed. A house replaced the simple hermitage. Business ventures replaced contemplation. 20 years later, he found himself living the life of an ordinary householder, successful, yes, but completely removed from the spiritual path he had once cherished. His days were filled with the concerns of commerce, family disputes, and social obligations. It wasn't until his wife passed away and his children had grown that he awakened from this long dream. Looking back, he could trace it all to one moment, the moment he said yes to that seemingly innocent cat. This is why he spent the rest of his life warning others, never allow a cat into your life. Part 3, The Deeper Meaning, Understanding the Mind's Deceptive Nature. The elder monk paused, letting the story settle in the young disciple's mind. Do you understand now? He asked gently. The young monk's eyes widened with realization. It wasn't really about the cat, was it? No, my dear student. The cat is a metaphor for any small compromise, any seemingly harmless indulgence that we allow into our carefully cultivated spiritual life. The psychology of gradual surrender. You see, the human mind is incredibly clever at justifying small compromises. We tell ourselves, it's just this once. It's so small it won't matter. I can handle this without losing control. I deserve this little pleasure. But here's what the Buddha understood about the nature of mind: every action creates a mental groove, a pathway that makes the next similar action easier to take. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha teaches us, all things arise from mind. When the mind is disturbed, suffering follows like the cart follows the ox. The Master's story illustrates what modern psychology calls the slippery slope, how one small deviation from our values can cascade into a complete transformation of our lives, often in ways we never intended. Modern examples. The cat in our digital age. Let me give you some modern examples of how this ancient wisdom applies to our lives today. The social media cat. I'll just check Instagram for 5 minutes. 6 hours later, you're comparing your life to strangers, feeling inadequate, your entire mood shifted by carefully curated images of other people's highlight reels. The shopping cat, I'll just buy this one thing I don't need. Soon, you're accumulating debt, cluttering your home, seeking happiness through possessions, while your bank account and inner peace both suffer. The gossip cat, I'll just listen to this one juicy piece of office drama. Before long, you're the person others avoid, your reputation tainted, your relationships poisoned by negativity and judgment. The anger cat, I'll just express my frustration this once. But unchecked anger becomes a habit, damaging relationships, affecting your health, and creating a cycle of reactivity that becomes harder to break each time. Part 4, the Buddha's teaching on mental discipline. The Buddha spoke extensively about this very phenomenon. In the Majjhima Nikaya, he said, just as rain breaks through an ill-thatched house, so passion penetrates an undeveloped mind. But just as rain does not break through a well-thatched house, so passion does not penetrate a well-developed mind. The 3 stages of mental invasion. The Buddha identified 3 stages of how these cats, these small compromises, invade our consciousness. Stage 1, the innocent beginning. The initial contact seems harmless, we believe we're in complete control, we justify the action with reasonable explanations. Stage 2, the gradual hook. The behavior begins to create pleasure pathways in the brain, we find ourselves thinking about it more often, we begin to make small adjustments to accommodate it. Stage 3, the complete takeover. The behavior now controls us more than we control it. Our values and priorities shift to support the behavior. We can't remember who we were before this began. This isn't about becoming paranoid or living in fear. It's about developing what the Buddha called sati, mindful awareness of how our minds work, and the wisdom to recognize these patterns before they take root. If you're finding this teaching helpful, please take a moment to subscribe to Buddha Coha and ring the notification bell. Your support helps us bring these ancient wisdom teachings to more people who need them. Part 5, Practical Wisdom, How to Protect Your Mind. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds like I need to live in fear of every small choice I make. How can I live a normal life? The beauty of Buddhist wisdom is that it's not about living in fear, it's about living with awareness. Here are the practical tools our tradition offers. The practice of mental gatekeeping. The Buddha compared the mind to a city, and our consciousness to the gatekeeper. Just as a wise gatekeeper questions every stranger seeking entry, we must question every thought, desire, or impulse that seeks residence in our minds. The 4 questions of the mental gatekeeper. 1. What is the true nature of this desire? Look beyond the surface appeal. 2. Where will this lead if I follow it? Consider the long-term consequences. 3. Does this align with my deepest values? Check against your spiritual principles. 4. Am I acting from wisdom or craving? Examine your motivation. The practice of mindful boundaries. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha teaches us to be mindful of our mental states. This means creating sacred spaces, designate times, places, and activities as sacred, protected from the casual introduction of distracting elements. The 24-hour rule: before accepting any new habit, commitment, or indulgence, wait 24 hours. Ask yourself if you still feel the same way after your initial emotional reaction has settled. Regular mental inventory: just as a shopkeeper counts inventory, regularly examine your mental habits. Are they moving you toward or away from peace? The antidote practice: cultivating opposite states. For every potential cat, cultivate its opposite. Against greed, practice generosity and contentment. Against anger, cultivate loving-kindness meditation. Against delusion, engage in study and self-reflection. Against pride, practice humility and service to others. Part 6: Real-life applications, transforming daily challenges. Let me share how this wisdom can transform your daily life, in relationships. Sarah was a devoted wife and mother who started receiving attention from a colleague at work. "It's just friendship," she told herself. "What harm could come from a few conversations?" By applying the Master's wisdom, she recognized this as her cat, seemingly innocent but potentially devastating. Instead of justifying the attention, she 1. Created clear boundaries with the colleague. 2. Increased communication with her husband. 3. Examined what needs weren't being met in her marriage. 4. Channeled that energy into strengthening her existing relationship. Result: her marriage became stronger than ever, and she avoided what could have been a life-destroying affair. In career and ambition, Michael was a meditation teacher who started a small online course. Just one product, he thought. I can help more people and earn a little extra income. Recognizing the potential cat, he established strict guidelines. He would only create content aligned with authentic teaching. Money would never be the primary motivation. He would maintain his daily practice regardless of business demands. He would regularly check in with a mentor about his intentions. Result: his teaching business grew, but his spiritual life remained the foundation rather than being consumed by commercial success. In digital life, Emma noticed she was reaching for her phone first thing in the morning. Just checking the time became just checking messages, which became 2 hours of mindless scrolling. She applied the Master's teaching by keeping her phone in another room while sleeping, creating a morning routine of meditation before technology, setting specific times for digital communication, using apps that limited her social media access. Result: her anxiety decreased, her focus improved, and she rediscovered the peace of quiet mornings. Part 7: The deeper teaching, understanding impermanence. But there's an even deeper layer to the Master's teaching. The story isn't just about avoiding temptation, it's about understanding the impermanent nature of all desires and attachments. The illusion of control. The young master in our story believed he could control the situation. He thought he could have just the cat, just the cow, just the helper, without these things changing him. But the Buddha taught us that everything we invite into our lives inevitably changes us, just as we change everything we touch. In the Lotus Sutra, we find this wisdom: all conditioned things are impermanent. When you see this, you are above sorrow. The Master's mistake wasn't just accepting the cat, it was believing he could remain unchanged by his choices. The middle way application. This doesn't mean we must live in complete isolation or refuse all worldly engagement. The Buddha himself taught householders, ate offered food, and engaged with society. The key is conscious choice rather than unconscious drift. The difference between conscious engagement and unconscious drift. Conscious, I choose to engage with social media for 30 minutes to connect with friends, then I will close the app. Unconscious, I'll just quickly check. Followed by hours of mindless scrolling. Conscious, I will enjoy this dessert fully, savoring each bite, as a celebration. Unconscious, I shouldn't eat this, but. Followed by guilty, mindless consumption. Part 8, Building Your Spiritual Immune System. Just as we build physical immunity through exposure to small challenges, we can build spiritual immunity through conscious practice. The Daily Fortress Practice. Every morning, before you engage with the world, spend time building what I call your daily fortress, the mental and spiritual protection that will serve you throughout the day. Morning Fortress Ritual. 1. 5 minutes of mindful breathing to center yourself. 2. Set your intention for the day. What kind of person do you want to be? 3. Identify potential cats you might encounter today. 4. Visualize yourself responding with wisdom rather than reaction. 5. Recite a protective mantra or affirmation. Evening Review Practice. 1. Reflect on the day without judgment. 2. Identify moments where you stayed true to your values. 3. Notice any cats that tried to enter your life. 4. Plan adjustments for tomorrow if needed. 5. Express gratitude for your awareness and growth. The Community Shield. The Buddha emphasized Sangha, spiritual community, as one of the 3 jewels of practice. Surround yourself with people who support your highest aspirations. Build your spiritual community by finding friends who share your values, joining meditation groups or Buddhist study circles, reading wisdom literature regularly, finding a mentor or teacher who embodies what you aspire to become, being accountable to others about your spiritual goals. Please subscribe to Buddha Coha and join our community of practitioners supporting each other on this path of wisdom. Part 9, When You've Already Let the Cat In. Now, some of you watching this might be thinking, it's too late for me. I've already let many cats into my life. I'm already trapped by habits, relationships, or situations that are pulling me away from my true path. Take heart. The Buddha's teaching offers hope even for those who find themselves far from where they intended to be. The story of Angulimala. There once was a serial killer named Angulimala who had fallen so far from his spiritual path that he wore a necklace of fingers from his victims. When he encountered the Buddha, he was planning to kill his mother to complete his 1000th murder. But in one moment of recognition, one conversation with the Buddha, his entire life transformed. He became an arhat, a fully enlightened being, in that very lifetime. The Buddha told him, I have stopped, Angulimala, but you have not stopped. I have stopped forever from harming living beings, but you have not stopped. This story teaches us that no matter how far we've drifted, awakening is possible in this very moment. The practice of conscious return. If you find yourself surrounded by the cats of unconscious choices, here's how to begin your return. Step 1. Honest assessment without self-attack. List the areas where you've drifted from your values. Notice without judging yourself harshly. Remember that awareness itself is the beginning of freedom. Step 2. Choose your first liberation. You don't need to change everything at once. Choose one cat to address first, often the one that troubles you most. Start with small, achievable steps. Step 3. Replace rather than just remove. Don't just take things away, replace them with something positive. If you're reducing social media, increase meditation time. If you're changing your diet, focus on nourishing foods rather than just restrictions. Step 4. Expect the mind's resistance. Your mind will create compelling reasons to return to old patterns. This is normal and doesn't mean you're weak. Each moment of resistance overcome builds strength for the next challenge. The gradual path to freedom. Remember, the master in our story didn't become trapped overnight, and he didn't become free overnight either. Liberation is often a gradual process of returning to our true nature. In the words of the Buddha from the Dhammapada, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. Choose that one word, that one action, that one moment of conscious choice. It may be small, but it's the crack through which your liberation begins to shine. Part 10. Living with Joyful Vigilance. As we near the end of our journey together today, I want to address a concern some of you might have. Does this teaching mean I can't enjoy life? Must I live in constant fear of making wrong choices? Not. The goal isn't to live in fear but to live with what I call joyful vigilance, an alert awareness combined with deep appreciation for life's genuine pleasures. The difference between attachment and appreciation. Attachment says, I must have this to be happy. Appreciation says, I'm grateful for this experience. Attachment says, I can't live without this. Appreciation says, this adds beauty to my life right now. Attachment says, more is always better. Appreciation says, this is enough. When the master accepted the cat, he moved from appreciation, gratitude for a solution to the rat problem, to attachment, believing he needed the cat and everything that followed to maintain his happiness. The art of conscious enjoyment. True Buddhist practice doesn't eliminate pleasure, it purifies it. Here's how to enjoy life's gifts without becoming enslaved by them. The 3-breath practice. Before engaging with any potential cat, take 3 conscious breaths and ask, 1. First breath, am I choosing this or is it choosing me? 2. Second breath, will I still feel good about this choice tomorrow? 3. Third breath, does this serve my highest good? The Gratitude Gateway. Begin any indulgence with genuine gratitude. This simple practice transforms consumption into communion, taking into receiving, and craving into appreciation. The impermanence reminder: before enjoying something, remind yourself, this is temporary, and that's what makes it precious. This awareness allows you to be fully present without clinging. Closing: the Master's true gift. As our time together draws to a close, let's return to that mountain hermitage where our story began. The young monk, now understanding his master's final words, felt a wave of profound gratitude. The master's cryptic warning, "Never allow a cat into your life," wasn't born from bitterness about his journey. It was born from infinite compassion, a desire to spare his student the suffering that comes from unconscious living. The four gifts of this teaching. Today, this ancient wisdom offers you four precious gifts. 1. The gift of awareness. You now know how small compromises can reshape your entire life. 2. The gift of choice. You understand that every moment offers the opportunity to choose consciousness over automaticity. 3. The gift of hope. No matter where you are on your journey, awakening is possible right now. 4. The gift of compassion, for yourself and others who struggle with the same human tendencies. Your sacred responsibility. The Buddha taught that when we receive wisdom, we become responsible not only for applying it in our own lives but for sharing it with others who might benefit. As you go forward from this moment, you carry with you the Master's final teaching. You are now the gatekeeper of your mind, the guardian of your spiritual journey. Remember these eternal truths: small choices create the direction of your entire life. Consciousness is always available, in every moment. You have the power to choose your response to every situation. Your awakening benefits not just you, but all beings you encounter. From the Metta Sutta, let me offer you this blessing: may you be happy and free from suffering. May you be at peace with whatever arises. May you have the wisdom to choose consciousness in every moment. May your choices reflect your deepest wisdom. And may your life be a blessing to all beings you encounter. If this teaching has touched your heart, please subscribe to Buddha Coha and share it with someone who might benefit. Your support helps us continue bringing these life-changing Buddhist teachings to seekers around the world. Remember, in this very moment, you have the power to choose. Choose wisely. Choose consciously. Choose with love. What cat will you choose to recognize in your own life today? Share your insights in the comments below. Your awareness might be exactly what another person needs to hear. Until we meet again on this path of wisdom, may you walk in peace, awareness, and joy. Don't let this wisdom end here. Subscribe to Buddha Coha, hit that notification bell, and join thousands of others who are transforming their lives through ancient Buddhist wisdom. Your journey to freedom begins with a single conscious choice. What will yours be?